Hey there, thanks for tuning into Duckbricks. I'm Chris, and LEGO has just revealed the brand new Ninjago 2024 January sets, and among them is a new wave of gimmick sets, aka these spinner-esque small $10 to $12 sets, which are the little dragon sets. Now what's really cool is that over at Fan Media Days, for the LEGO Fan Media to go out and bill in Denmark back in September, we got a chance to see some of these early sets, and very interestingly, we actually got a presentation from LEGO's packaging team, where we actually learned about what it takes to design the packaging for a new style of LEGO gimmick set like this one. Now, there were a ton of alternate concepts for the packaging that they were considering for these Ninjago dragon sets, and one of them was one that I personally really liked. It was a gigantic dragon head made out of cardboard, but unfortunately, I'm guessing they chose not to go with that one because you don't really see what you get in a set. It is just a giant dragon head with the LEGO logo on it, so I understand why they didn't do that, but there's still a lot of really cool packaging and insights that we got from this presentation, and so let's jump into the development of what it takes to actually create a brand new Ninjago gimmick sets packaging. We got a chance to hear from Lucas Brea, a packaging design specialist over at LEGO who mainly prioritizes on some of the non-traditional packaging that LEGO has done over the years. Stuff like the Chima Speedors, Ninjago Air Jitsu, and even some of the classic boxes. He is basically in charge of developing all sorts of boxes that are non-standard, such as the LEGO Adidas shoe, which was a really cool presentation on the development of how they actually put that box together. But of course, the main focus of the presentation was for 2024, the brand new Ninjago Dragons Rising gimmick sets. Now for 2024, as we now know, there are 3 brand new gimmick sets coming out for Aaron, Nia, and Kai, and each of those sets focus on a miniature LEGO dragon flying towards the viewer with a bit of an action feature to launch the dragon energy sphere from the mouth itself. Now for packaging for a product like this, he mentioned that they really want to focus on the action of the toy itself. And of course, since the product is an impulse buy style of toy, much like the Spinjitzu spinners of the past, it had to really convey the action and play that you can actually get within the box itself. And so, the boxes had to be designed as, quote, an open invitation for kids to release physical energy while playing. And so, they wanted to communicate a couple of different major points: dragon, action, sphere, and minifigure. And the play experience, they wanted to showcase that you can actually activate it via hand movement and try to get all of this across on the box itself. And then we came to the actual prototypes of the way they were trying to develop the mock-ups for the boxes. And there essentially were 5 major mock-ups they decided, narrowed down eventually to 2, and eventually, as we now know, they picked one final version of the box. But the really cool thing was that at the time of this presentation in September, he wasn't even sure which one they were going to go with. Personally, I kinda wish that they went with the other one, but I understand why they went with the final version, which you can see at the beginning of this video. Now, the 5 original ideas for this Ninjago packaging were energy, lightning, power, crystals, and dragon. And here on this image, you can see all of the different prototypes of the boxes they were considering. The energy one is probably our most traditional LEGO's gimmick style box that we've ever gotten, featuring some sort of an energy wave curve on the top of the box itself. It looks to me a lot like the Speedor sets from Chima. The lightning one is a little bit more interesting because it's supposed to look like a lightning bolt, but again, maybe that doesn't necessarily translate as well for the dragon itself, being a ubiquitous concept and not something tied to the element of lightning. The power one was meant that the dragon was trying to push itself out of the box, which of course, as you know, was the final version they decided on, giving us a very unique style of the box shape that isn't really like anything we've seen before from LEGO, but something that still does feel well within the LEGO brand. And they also considered crystals, which is pretty interesting because obviously Crystallized as a season was last year, so maybe that wasn't super relevant story-wise, but it did mention that crystals are actually a pretty important facet of the Ninjago world. I don't know if this is something that ties into the next season, or maybe that was just something they generally felt was important and wanted to consider, so they did have that. And then lastly, one of my favorite boxes was literally supposed to be dragon-shaped, where the box in and of itself was shaped like a dragon head, where they wanted to actually have a dragon head shaped out of the box, but showcasing what you actually get in the set on the back. And so, they asked the concept artist and creative lead to design the graphics, which you can see the prototype version right here for the power box. This is, again, one of the versions that we did eventually get for the final box itself, and for me, it's really cool to be able to see prototypes type artwork like this. So very, very interesting to see that as an initial sketch. And they did actually have an example of the box right here in hand of the one that they did develop. And then they also had the dragon box, which was again a gigantic dragon head, which I think would have been really cool on shelves. Again though, it probably would have been pretty confusing as to what you were actually getting in the box. I actually asked him this question when we had a chance to do Q&A, and I brought up stuff like the Wonder Woman 1984 box as well as the hidden side boxes, which looked really cool, but it wasn't really clear to the consumer what you were getting in the box. And he did say that yes, that was definitely a concern they were looking at, which is why for both boxes they wanted to clearly show what you get inside the box on the back of the box. But I do understand that going with this direction, while very cool looking, isn't even clear that you get a minifigure in the box. It isn't even clear that you get a dragon in the box. It just feels more like a mystery container rather than an actual Lego set. The one thing though that he said was that the dragon head boxes, they did consider trying to allow you to mount it on your wall, and I know that if they definitely wanted to go with the dragon head mount, I probably would have actually kept those and put it on display in my Lego collection, which I think would have looked really cool, but I do understand why they went with the other design. Still, this was a very interesting look at how LEGO actually designs their own packaging and boxes, and essentially they narrowed themselves down to two options, which they did bring for us to be able to play around with and look at: the Power Box, which was the final one, and then the Dragon Head one. Of course, I'm super curious to hear in the comments down below which one of these is your favorite, which would you prefer, and for me, while I do understand why they chose the Power one, you actually see what you get in the box, I think it would have been really cool to display the Dragon Head ones, and I do hope that maybe if Ninjago were to do potentially blind boxes in the future, or something more interesting that would necessitate a package like that, they would consider bringing it back, because that was a really unique and innovative style of the box, and I certainly can't wait to see what this team is cooking up for future Ninjago gimmicks. That's pretty much all I have to say about this presentation. Special thanks to everybody involved with making this presentation happen, especially Lucas, who gave a fantastic presentation on the overall development of unique LEGO packaging, and it was really cool to hear from someone who had been involved in all sorts of original LEGO themes, from Chima to Nexo Knights to Ninjago, and even some of the stuff like the Adidas Superstar, which had a very unique shoebox style of packaging. It was cool taking a deep dive into the world of unique LEGO boxes. Alright, and with that we have summed up our look at the packaging development of some brand new Ninjago 2024 gimmick sets. Of course, let me know down in the comments below which one of those would you have preferred. I definitely know I would have really loved to mount those dragon heads on my wall, but I also totally understand that it probably would have suffered the same problem that other set lines like Hidden Side or even the Wonder Woman 1984 set did, where there's some beautiful art on the packaging, but it's not really clear what you get in the box. So I get why they did what they did. I think the new packaging is still pretty good, but oh my goodness, those cardboard dragon heads were super cool, and I hope you enjoyed this special look at something we don't really get to see the development of very often. This is really one of the first times that I've ever gotten to see the packaging development of behind the scenes of making a brand new LEGO Ninjago set, so I hope you enjoyed. Thanks so much for watching, and bye for now. Let me know in the comments what you think of all the different packaging designs we got a chance to take a look at.